Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? I wish I had videotaped in there. Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. This time I'm going to be offering you a 3-part basic floral design course. So today, Tuesday, and the next 2 Tuesdays following, I will be teaching you how to make some floral designs for your home. This is a basic beginner's course. I won't be using any professional terms. I have taught floral design, so I'm going to be using the same terms that I did when I was teaching classes at Michael's, because I did work for Michael's for a very long time. I was very successful, not only doing the floral arrangements as a floral designer, but I also did courses teaching many other things besides floral design. So I hope you enjoy this. Now, I want to first do an introduction to all of them. So you will be seeing the same introduction for all 3 videos. And again, if you've already seen this in the first video and you don't care to watch it in the second or the third, then skip right on over to the actual arrangement that I'll be teaching you for that day. All right, so I'm going to tell you what to keep in mind first. What you want to keep in mind is your theme. Where do you want to place this arrangement? So if this is in your home, think about where in your home you're going to place it. Is this going to be something for the kitchen, something for your living room, something for your bedroom, maybe even in the bathroom or in your office? And what theme do you have decorated in that particular room? Maybe you want to add some fruit in there, some little veggies, things like that. If it's in the kitchen, maybe some seashells or things like that that are kind of nautical if you have that in your bathroom. So you want to keep those things in mind when you are creating your arrangement or when you are choosing the elements for your arrangement. And speaking of placement or where you're going to put it, that is the second thing to consider, is the perspective and the actual placement of the arrangement. Now I've already told you what room. Now, where in that room is this going to be placed? Is this going to be placed somewhere where it's going to be against the wall? Is it going to be in the center of the room somewhere? Is it going to be at a table where some of you are going to be sitting at and eating, and you want to be able to look over this arrangement? You never want to create an arrangement that is so tall that it's blocking you if you're all sitting around this table and you want to speak to each other. So that's something to consider. Also, you're going to be taking into account the texture. That is the texture of your flowers, which kind of goes into the theme of your flowers. So maybe you're looking for something country and you want to use some dry flowers. So dry flowers would be the texture of your flowers. Or maybe you'll be using silk flowers, or maybe some of you will go ahead and go into using actual fresh flowers. But that is a different treatment of the flowers. For now, we are going to be working with artificial or faux flowers. All right, so just keep that in mind. So there are different textures, so you need to decide what you're going to use. Now, there are cases where you can kind of mix it too, and I will at the end. I'm going to do a little mixing just so that you can see what I mean by that. The other thing you need to consider is going to be the shape of your arrangement. Now, as I said earlier, if you're going to place this at a table where people are talking to each other, you don't want something too large. So you may consider something round or maybe something horizontal, or what I like to call a swag arrangement. But we will go into that as the classes proceed. And then, of course, there is your size and proportion. Size is the overall size of the arrangement. Where is this going to go? Is this on a little desk in an office where you need something small? Or is this an arrangement that you want somewhere in your grand entry or your living room and you want something large? That is the size. The proportion is the size of the individual items in the arrangement, or whether I like to call the elements, which are your flowers, any fillers, your greenery, and things like that. Things should be a little bit proportioned, keep them a little bit natural looking. So those are the things that you will be considering. Now, the supplies that you also need to have on hand for these courses will be obviously a container, vase, whatever it is that you want to put your arrangement in. And I have one here, for example. I have a vase here just to show you. This is what I have chosen to start off with. Okay, you will be seeing this in my first course. So that is a vase. You can use just a regular glass vase. You can use a bucket if you want, a wooden box, a boot, whatever you find that you can actually put things inside and you are willing to let a little bit of hot glue go in there. Okay, so then you will need some styrofoam And I just have this, and I got this from a 6-pack of styrofoam from Hobby Lobby. You can get your styrofoam from wherever you want. And this is more of a condensed styrofoam, okay? So just so you'll know. If you're curious about an item called Oasis, Oasis is for fresh flowers. And like I said, we're going to be working with faux flowers. So we're not going to be using Oasis. Oasis is used to dip into water and absorb water so that then you can put fresh flowers into. And that is another course. And if you're interested, or class, if you're interested in that, I will be more than happy to show you how to prepare a fresh flower arrangement. All right, also, like any other craft that I like to do, I like to have my wire cutters, I like to have my scissors, I like to have some floral wire, as you can see here, or even some chenille stems, but really in floral arrangements, I use floral wire. And then with that, I also use greenery or green floral tape, not greenery, but green floral tape. Now, if you're working with white stems for whatever reason that you're creating something that has white, maybe you want to use a white tape, but I always use a green because I always work with green. All right. Also, in my floral arrangement, I sometimes, not always, but I also use wooden floral picks. And these have a little wire attached, as you can see. So that is something to consider. You will find these in different sizes. This is just a basic size. If you want to get a longer size, that's up to you. And you can just trim them. And sometimes you just find the wooden picks without the wire, which is fine because you can always use the wire that you already have, that I've already shown you. All right, another thing that you may need are these greenery pins or U pins. They're little metal pins and they're shaped in a U. Some people call them S pins. I always call them U pins or greenery pins. We're going to be using these in our arrangement to hold down moss, so, or a cover, something to cover our styrofoam with. And now I'm using Excelsior, or some people may call this Spanish moss, or you can just use regular green moss. That is up to you. It all also depends on what you want to spend. Usually Spanish moss is less expensive, and the natural one is obviously going to be a lot less expensive. Now, some of you may have access to some woods, and you can go out and grab some Spanish moss, so why not? Just make sure it is nice and dry. Leave it out in the sun, spread it out, let it get nice and dry, make sure there's no little bugs in it, etc. that have been living in there, because you don't want the little bug now to come into your home and you've taken him out of nature. So anyway, I do have some woods around here that I can go to and grab that. Now the next thing, of course, most important, are going to be your flowers. Now you can go out and get yourself stems of flowers if you want, but I'm going to recommend that you get yourself some bushes of flowers. And I have some flowers here that I've already purchased, and they're all in bushes. All my greenery is in bushes. Basically, all my elements are in bushes because I just decided that that is the most cost-effective for me, and I liked what I saw, so I went ahead and I got that. But I'm going to show you an example. Here is a bush of flowers, and I got these, by the way, at Hobby Lobby. You can purchase them at Michael's, but like I said, you can also go to the Dollar Tree and get yourself some inexpensive flowers. Now here is the bush, and as you can see, it's got quite a bit of stems on there. So that is what I'm going to use. I'm just going to cut them off the bush because I always do, and I always cut them at the longest point. And now I've got some greenery here. This is what I mean by greenery. Fillers would be a smaller flower because this is going to be my focal flower. And that is the other thing that I wanted to talk about with perspective in your flowers. You are going to pick a flower that you like, that is your focal flower, and then you're going to pick some, some fillers, which could be a smaller flower, maybe some little berries or some little grasses, and then of course you have your greenery. All right, well, let's go ahead and get on with our arrangement. All right, everyone, today I am coming to you from my kitchen dining room area. I'm not in my craft room because it is a mess. I am doing some decorating, so I just threw everything in there while I'm doing that. It's taking me some time, so I'm gonna do this on my dining room table. And that is what you're seeing here, my dining room wall. And I'm hoping to do some nice decorating in my craft room soon so that I can give you a little tour of it. All right, so today I'm going to show you how to do a triangular floral arrangement. Now, if you saw the whole intro, you'll see what tools you'll need. If you've already seen the intro before, then you know the basics of all the tools that you need. And I believe I left out the fact that we're probably going to use a glue gun. So I will be using a glue gun today. I am going to be making my arrangement permanent. If you don't want to use that, you don't have to, but you're probably going to need it anyway to adhere your styrofoam into your container. So let's go ahead and get started so I can show you what flowers I have chosen for this particular arrangement. All right, so let me show you what I've got here. I've got this lovely vase. I've had this for quite some time. You can use any container you want. As you can see, this one has a really wide mouth. I am going to recommend that you start off with something a lot smaller, maybe a 4-inch to 5-inch diameter mouth opening. And what I mean by mouth, I mean this right here, because then you could just start off with a smaller piece of styrofoam in there and use less flowers to fill it. The height is really your choice, but I will recommend that if you are going to choose a height, that your arrangement on top of that is going to be anywhere from 1.5 to 3 times the height. So take that into consideration when you choose your container, because this is going to be a triangular arrangement. So height is going to be pretty much where we're going. We're going to be going up rather than going horizontal and staying short. All right, let me show you the flowers that I chose for this particular arrangement. So my flowers, again, they're all from Hobby Lobby, as I've mentioned in the videos before. I have chosen for this particular arrangement pinks. So this is going to be some pink hydrangea. I decided that I wanted to add some pinks into my home, make it very springy. And you saw the arrangement that I made last week where I used some yellow roses, so I think it's going to tie in really nice to this. So I've got that. I've got a nice bush because, as I've said before, I like to get my flowers and my greenery in bushes. Not that I don't like stems, I love stems, but because this is a more cost effective, and in order for me to be able to afford all of this to make all these videos for you, I went with bushes. So if you're looking for cost effective, then grab those. I also chose these tulips, and they're nice and pretty and pink, and they blend in very well with the colors in my hydrangea, as you can see. And then I also chose this little spray, or not a little, but little roses. It's a bush, not a spray, forgive me, but it's got tiny little roses, and I thought they were really pretty, and I thought this would be a great filler for my other 2 flowers. My huge hydrangeas would be my focal flower. This would be a filler flower. This would be filler, or another flower actually, but it could be berries or something else like that. And then I've got my greenery, excuse me, and I've chosen, let me show you this one first. I've chosen this particular bush, and let me show you the leaves. I went ahead and I picked this fern bush right here, and it's got different sizes of leaves on it. But let me pull one out so you can see. And I'm going to be using a few of these in my arrangement. I don't know exactly how many, but I am going to be using some of that. Now, from last week I had these grasses left over. I have all my greenery here where I've been doing my arrangements, and I've had bits left over and I've been saving them. Now I had this from last week where I made the horizontal vertical arrangement, these little grasses. So I think I'm going to be using some of these in my arrangement because these little grasses can actually be curled. So I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. Even if I don't use them, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, let me move that over. And if for some reason I forgot, remind me, because I will continue some floral arrangement for you. I'm going to be doing wall decor next. So give me a big old thumbs up, because I really want to know that you are going to want to see that. I did have a couple of people comment and say, yes, we want wall decor or floral wall decor. So give me a big old thumbs up and let me know in the comments below. Okay, so let's go ahead and prepare our arrangement. And we'll start by putting some styrofoam in there. Oh, I also said I think it was in my first video that I did for this particular course, where I did the round arrangement, I said that you could pick dry flowers instead of silk flowers, which is what I'm using. And then I did mention that you could mix them, and that I would do that for my very last one. So this is my last in this particular course. And I did choose these dried, let me see, do they have a name? No, it just says flowers, and it's just for use only. They're made on some sort of a little natural stick, but inside is a styrofoam ball, and then they use some sort of a natural petals, or I don't know what these are, but they feel like styrofoam. And anyway, but this is what it is. So I really don't think it's really a dry flower. I think it's some sort of styrofoam that was made to look like a dry flower, but I thought they were pretty, and I think they'll go great in my arrangement, so I'm going to use those as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our styrofoam. regular styrofoam, floral styrofoam. This was a package of 6, and as you can see, I've got 3, and I've already used, I've used 3 of them for my other arrangement, so I've still got 3. And then I've got my floral moss here. This is just some, this is called, Excelsior moss, and I've been using this in all my arrangements, and that's what I'm going to use. I got this green one. I thought it was pretty. They have it in a natural color, and they cost a little bit less, but I went ahead and I went for the green just because I wanted something a little fresher looking. You could use like a sheet moss, like a green grassy moss if you prefer that instead of this. Okay, let's get her. What you want to do is you want to make sure you clean the inside of your container, and then you're going to see what fits in there. I'm going to push this down a little bit because the bottom happens to be a little bit smaller, so this kind of fits in kind of tight, as you can see in there. And it's not very clean, but it's clean enough. Okay, so now that I've got it in there and I've fitted it in there and I've shaped it to the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to the little corners here. Let's get that stick in there. Add some glue, and then some at the bottom so it glues down. All right. Oh, some little cat hairs in there. Okay. What's new? Okay, so this is all that it fills up. As you can see, there's not a lot of surface here, and I've got a really big opening here, so I want to put some styrofoam to fill in the sides here. So thankfully I still have some. So I'm going to take this, and I really should have put a mat here on my table, but I didn't. Anyway, I'm going to cut this in half, and I'm just going to use my scissors. You could use a craft knife, and I will recommend that at the Dollar Tree in the kitchen area they have the little knives. They're hanging on the little packets on the wall. I do recommend using the knives that are there. They're great to use as a craft knife. Okay, and if I try to put that in there, it's obviously not going to fit because it's obviously too thick. So I'm just going to shave off a little bit of this, and let me put it on top of this here. Put my glue gun on top of my wire cutters. Okay, so I'm just going to shave off. I'm just going to break it off. If I had a knife, this would go a lot better. Okay. There we go. There we go. That's what I did. I just shaved them off. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as it'll fit in there nice and tight, and then you'll do the same with the other piece and fit it on the other side. And if you want to continue, you would put some more in here. So that's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just let some glue fall in there. I don't need to put it underneath it because it's not actually touching anywhere underneath. It's just touching the styrofoam here on next to it, and it's touching the walls. Let's get some more glue. Little mini glue gun, always got to be filling it in. But I like using it because it's got this little thin, kind of a precise tip, a little bit thinner than the usual glue gun, and I really like that. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and continue filling this, and then I will be back. All right, I've got all my styrofoam in there. I've gone ahead and I've used the little pieces that were left over, and I've just filled in the sides just to get them in there nice and tight. And in case I do need to put a stem, I'll have some styrofoam there where I can poke something into. As long as they're nice and tight in there, you can add a little bit of glue, make sure that they stay in there and they don't pop out. These are really nice and snug in there, so I don't think they're gonna be popping out. And as you can see, it doesn't look pretty or anything. It's just a bunch of pieces, but that's okay because we're gonna cover it up with our moss. So I'm just gonna take some of this moss and I'm gonna spread it out because I really just wanna hide most of the edges where you might see the styrofoam from the sides. And I don't wanna put too much because then sometimes this gets cloggy and it won't allow for stems to go into the styrofoam. So that's why I'm spreading it out, and I'm just getting little pieces at a time. All right, in order to keep that from moving, I am going to be adding these floral pins, U pins, S pins, whatever you want to call them. And then I'm going to hook that into the styrofoam just to hold that down so it doesn't go anywhere. Doing that around the edges. And then of course, after you've added your stems or whatever, you've put in greenery, whatever you've added into your floral prepared vase or container, if you do see anything, you can just grab a few more bits and just tuck them in so that you don't see the styrofoam. I think this is good enough, so I am going to go ahead and stop there. excuse me, I'm gonna just throw that little bit in there. Okay, I've still got a little cough. As you can see, it's a little annoying little cough. It just won't go away. Okay, so the next thing I wanna do is I wanna prepare all my florals. And I wanna start by cutting everything at its longest point. Okay, let's go ahead and take off these labels. Now, if you're going to be working in your dining room table, I suggest you put something down before you get started, so you don't get any glue or any of your items to scratch your table. This is kind of an old table, and it has that kind of worn look, so I don't really care. Okay, so we're just going to cut these at the very bottom point, at their longest point, because you don't know how long you're going to need each stem. You may end up cutting them really short. You may end up adding a little bit to them to make them longer. And if you saw the last video, you saw that I use these floral picks, and I may be using some of these again. So I've got these ready right here on the side, and I've got my floral tape as well. And so therefore, I don't know how long I'm going to need them, so I'm just going to cut them all at their longest point. And then once I'm putting them in my arrangement, I'll decide the lengths and then cut them there. All right, this one's got a really nice thick stem. Oh, but it cut off just fine. Okay, I thought it was going to be hard. All right, so I'm going to continue cutting the rest of my flowers and my greenery, and I'll be back. All right, so I've got my camera as furthest as I could from so you can see what I'm doing here, because this is going to be a high arrangement. I might have to adjust it. I feel like you can see the vase, but as soon as we're doing the arrangement, you don't really need to see the bottom of the vase, so I may have to do some adjusting. I'll go ahead and get started, and we'll see where that is. And the first thing I want to do is I want to choose my height. So of course, when you're choosing your height, you pick your focal flower. And this arrangement that I'm going to make, I'm going to make it so that you can see it all the way around. If you turn it around, you can see it, and you can put it anywhere in your home. If you have a little pedestal or something that you want to place it on, you can do that. Maybe in front of a mirror, in an entry or something, so that it will reflect back and you can see some of the arrangement in the mirror and just make it all look even fuller. This could go up against something where there's a wall behind it, so that I wouldn't have to decorate the back. But I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing all the way around, and I feel like in future videos I can go ahead and repeat the type of arrangement that I'm going to make today, and just make it in a different form so that you can see that. All right, let me go ahead and get started. Normally, I think I was saying I would pick my floral, my focal flower, my main flower for my arrangement, and I've got in this particular one it has 5, which is perfect, because the middle one is always the odd number, and then the others will go around the arrangement. But I want a higher point than this. If I just set it just flat on here, the little end of this tip, if I just set it on here and I'm looking at it, I feel like, well, I kind of want a little bit more height. And this flower, once I put it into the styrofoam, I'm going to lose at least 2 inches, because you really want to put your stems in there at least 2 inches or more into your styrofoam, so that they don't wobble around, you know, kind of do too much of this. You want them to be nice and steady into your floral foam. And if I do that, which I'll go ahead and push in right now, just moving the little moss around so that I can push it in. If I push it about 2 inches, and if you're wondering how I know that I'm pushing in 2 inches, what you can do is you put your fingers, you can just eyeball 2 inches, whatever you think 2 inches is. Put your fingers right there, so that when you're pushing it in, and once your fingers touch the styrofoam, then you know that you've already pushed them in that far. If you want to go 3 inches, then go ahead and put your fingers at the 3-inch mark, and then push it until you feel the styrofoam. The same with all your other stems, whether it's greenery or flowers. Okay, so I've decided that this flower only goes so deep, but I would like it to be a little bit taller. But I don't want my hydrangea, because it's such a big flower, I don't really want it to be a big giant flower up at the very top. But I do have these little roses on these stems here. They're nice and long, and I decided that I'm going to use one of these as my height. So I'm going to go ahead and pick, let me see if I can pick out the longest one. And let's see, these are kind of more or less the same height. I feel like maybe this one, oh, they're about the same. Kind of cancels that one out. They're all pretty much the same here. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with this one. I'm going to push these aside, and I'm going to go ahead and decide that I want to use that one as my height, and because I want you to see what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and adjust my camera. All right, I think this is the best that I can do so that you can hear me when I'm doing this and not have to put the camera too far away from me, because unfortunately I do not have a separate mic to put on myself, which I hope to be able to do that sometime soon. But for now, I want you to be able to hear me, so I don't want to put the camera too far away, and I don't want to strain my voice and choke and cough again. So this is the best that I can do for now. So I hope that you can see it, and this is the bottom of the container, and I know you can at least see that. I can't push it any further back or it'll be off the table. But anyway, you can see that this is the bottom of the container, so you can at least see what I'm doing, but I really want you to see the shape that I'm forming, and I want to go kind of big on this, okay? So just imagine yourself doing this, maybe a little bit smaller scale to get practice on it. If not, go for it and do something huge like what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I said I'm just going to go ahead and use this one as my height because I want to give it a little bit more height, and you can see it right there. And that's what I'm going to use now. If I push it in, I'm going to lose just a little bit of that height, and I have to decide whether I'm okay with that or do I want it even higher. And I kind of feel like I want it even higher. So this is where my floral picks are going to come in. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap at the bottom 2 to 3 inches onto the stick, and use the wire that's on this floral pick. And if you do not have a wire on your floral pick, then use your regular floral wire that you have on a stool. Just cut out about a spool, or however you have it. Cut out about 6 to 8 inches of it and use that to wrap around. These particular floral stems have about 5 inches of wire. Oops, I just got it stuck into my finger there. Wow, okay. I don't know if you can see that little wire right there. There you go. It's about 5 inches. Okay, so now I'm going to take my floral tape, which I just let it fall all over the place, and pull on it just a little bit, and then pull as I tape it around to cover up all that wire and to cover where it goes from one color stem to this other color from the wooden pick, and that just sort of kind of blends it in a little bit. I don't have to cover it a lot because you're not really going to see this that much, but I still want to cover, because if you can see anywhere into the arrangement, we don't want people to see, you know, all these little wires. You don't want to see them. They're not very attractive to look at an arrangement and see a bunch of little wires in there where everything's grabbed on. So you do want to cover them with floral tape, and because of the green, it'll blend in just fine. So now I'm going to put some glue on it because I'm at a point where I've decided that I want this. And there's my glue, about 2 to 3 inches. And I'm going to find a little hole where I kind of had it before. Well, I don't think I had stuck it in there. Yes, I did. Okay, no, but now because it's a little bit longer, I can go in just a little bit further. And here is my height. Way up here. That's my height. That's how high I want it. And now I can decide that maybe I do want my hydrangea to go up that high, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that hydrangea right there, because I do have these tulips, and I could add tulips to be at those high points. Okay, so I think you're kind of seeing what I'm doing here. I could, you know, whatever I do on one side, I'll do it on the other. And then I can just do a little bit different on these sides so that I don't hide my hydrangea. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another stem of this roses, and I'm going to add another, on this one, I'm also going to add the floral pick to it. So just wire it around, and then use your floral tape to hide all of that and keep it all nice and tight. So grab your floral tape, pull on it to, that releases the adhesive on the floral tape. Don't just wrap it on there because it's just going to come off. So pull on it a little bit to release the adhesive, and as you're rolling it around, squeeze it and tighten it. Pull, wrap it, squeeze, and tighten it. That's the best way that I can explain that to you. And then just go back up again, and then just pull on it to cut, and then just press down on the tape. And there we go. We got it all nicely wrapped, very nicely. And I'm going to put it on the other side, so this little bit can now go that way. So now I've got to put some glue in it, but I don't want it to be so perfectly even. So I'm going to go a little bit further in with this one, just a little bit, because I want it to look a little more natural. So I don't want everything to be, oh, exactly the same height. So here we go, my hydrangea right there. I can actually separate it a little bit here, the little stems, and then kind of push these stems right into it. And then these are nice. So now I want some hydrangeas on the sides here. This is the one in the top. So now I'm going to go ahead and pick how far out I want them now to go. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the ones that are going to go on this side, and then from that length will be the same in the front, and we're going to call this the back. So in your perspective, from where you're looking at it, this is the front, this is the side, another side, and the back. Okay, that's what I'm going to be calling it. So obviously when you're working at it and you're turning around and it's all the same, and there's no front and there's no back, it's all the same. But it does have sides because mine does have these little handles here. So these are going to be my sides. If your floral vase does not have that, you don't have to worry, but you could choose, you know, kind of an imaginary sides. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and put my hydrangeas, talking a lot because I wanted to explain that to you. Okay. And I'm going to push them a little bit lower than my other hydrangea. I don't want them touching. I don't want to crowd my flowers. So I'm just going to push it in as far as I can. And then I'm going to bend it just slightly at the stem. So when I've inserted it, what I'm doing is I'm bending it slightly, kind of curving it like so. Let me move out of the way here so you can see it against the wall where I've curved this. That's what I'm doing to my flowers as I'm putting them in. I don't want these straight up flowers like that because they don't look very natural. I want them to have a natural curve. You know, they're growing upward towards the sun, but they're kind of falling a little bit because hydrangeas are a heavy flower. So they're going to fall just a tiny little bit because of gravity. And it just makes it look really pretty. That I can see it from the sides, not just the flowers up here on the top, but I can see it from the side. I can see a beautiful flowers. Okay, I'm going to do the same on the other side. Poke it in. I can see that I need to kind of bend these because they seem to be going a little bit too far. They were a little too far on this side, if you will. So they weren't centered. So now I just bent them a little bit to make sure that my flowers were centered. And of course this one, it's a very tippy top center flower. So this can kind of go straight up. You don't have to bend it. But I've gone ahead and done a little bit of a bend for what I'm calling the front, which is what you're looking at, okay? Now I'm going to do the same. Put a flower up here in the front and one in the back. And I'm going to curve them just a little bit. And as you can see, I'm not using any floral picks. I don't want to add any height to them, but I'm also not trimming them. I'm going to go ahead and use the whole length of the stem. And the only reason that I'm doing that is because maybe sometime in the future I want to take this arrangement apart and these stems will still be nice and long. Now, if I didn't have such a deep vase where I could do that and I had to trim them, of course that would be okay. All right. And I'm adding hot glue because I don't want them to fall out of my, my container. I want them to be in there for a while. This is going to go through my whole spring and my summer. I decided that I wanted to add some pinks. I've got some grays and some blues in my living room, and I thought, well, you know what? I want to give it a little bit of a feminine touch, so I'm adding pink flowers. I've always lived with 3 boys, my husband and my 2 sons, and I like things girly, but I don't make everything too girly because I want them to be comfortable. But you know what? Now it's just my husband and I. My husband's like, whatever you want to do, honey. It looks pretty. He likes the flowers, so this is nice. Not that my boys ever had any complaints about, they knew mom did crafting and they love doing crafts with me. As a matter of fact, I would not doubt it in the least if one of my boys could put one of these floral arrangements together because they've seen me do it so many times at home. And actually they know how to do a lot of little crafts. They know how to do a lot of painting, how to put together lots of things because I had them doing crafts since they were very, very little. Since they could pick up something and know not to put it in their mouth. That is when I started having them doing crafts. Yes, I've had them painting and gluing because I wanted them to have that experience and that, it helped them with their hand and their hand coordination is what I wanted to say, and their imagination, their creativity, and I think that's very important to give to a child. Okay, so now because I've got these stems that are kind of sticking up. This one is maybe bent a little bit too much, and I've kind of wiggled them into this top arrangement, and then I've got these kind of sticking out. I've cut some. This one had another one coming out of it, but I've cut off a piece of it, and I'm going to take this, and now I'm going to have one come out forward and another one come out through the back over here, and just to balance that out. So whatever I do to the sides, whatever I do to the front, or whatever I do to the front, I do to the sides, but in this case I did to the sides first, and now I'm doing it to the front and the back. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut off a shorter stem and cut off a piece of this one too. I'm going to take this one because I like the way it kind of already curves. Put some glue right behind this other flower. And I've got a lot of foliage, and I should have taken some off, which I'll do right now. Okay, I'm going to take some foliage off these hydrangea, the very bottom one, because it was right here, right on the styrofoam, and it's kind of making it look really full with this greenery, and I really want to make it full, but I want to make it full with that other greenery. I'm going to go ahead and leave the ones on the sides, but the one in the front and the back, I took off some leaves, and we're at the very bottom. I want you to see what I've done so far, and as you can see, if I was to put the arrangement like this, you kind of see the same thing happening. There's some stems up at the top, the main flower, and then there's some stems sticking out and hydrangeas. Of course, if I turn it around this way, you see the same thing, but now you can see this flower even more, so you can understand what I mean by the front of my arrangement. This way or this way, it doesn't really matter. I don't even know which is the front anymore. You know what, as a matter of fact, I do know that this was the front because I remember seeing this little rose down here at the very bottom, which is kind of hiding. And I thought to myself, I'm going to pull that out because it's kind of hiding, and I could save this little flower and maybe put it onto something else. So I'm going to remove that because it's kind of hidden away. As a matter of fact, this other stem has one too at the very bottom. So I'm going to pull those two little roses off. So that's something that you can do when you're adding, let me go ahead and cut one so that I can give you an example. Let's say you have a stem like this, and you know that you're going to use the height, but you're going to stick all of this in there. So then you have this little leaf down here that's going to be right on the styrofoam. And if you're going to add more greenery, you could just go ahead and just remove this one if it's going to get hidden away. And then you could use these little leaves, save them, and use them for other little crafts, little gifts that you might make, and you want to put a little leaf or flower on. And anywhere where you have a stem that maybe a flower fell off, and you see a little stick like this now, because now I've removed that flower from there, you can go ahead and just cut it off so you don't see that anymore. Okay, let me do that for this one. Here I have a little bit where there was the stem right here, but it's missing a flower right off of it. It obviously is missing from when I bought it, or maybe it's in the bag, I don't know. But it's missing that, so I don't really need that. So in order to clean up my stem, I'm gonna cut that off. So there you go. So make sure you go and look at your stems and remove anything that you might have to clean off. Okay, I still have some of these little flowers, which are my filler, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on to my tulip because I may or may not use any more of this. And again, save it for another project if you don't use it for this. Even if you just have one little flower, save it because you never know when you want just one little flower. Okay, so now I want to add some tulips that are also kind of high because I like the way that looked, and I want to put one right in the middle, right next to this stem. I'm gonna, when I slide it in, I'm gonna maneuver it so it's kind of sticking out through the middle here. So I want that height, and I need a lot of length here. But I know that my floral picks are not long enough. Now you can buy longer, these little wooden picks. They may not have the wire on them, and that's okay because like I said, you can use your floral wire. But in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and use 2 of these to show you that you can do that if you need to lengthen something. And if adding 1 is not enough, you can add a second one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing, wrap this onto 2 inches of the stem. Again, tape it and cover all that up. Pull, press, twist and press, pull, twist and press. Okay, and just, I went up and then I came back down again. Okay, and then just kind of Press it on there and make sure that it's well covered. Now, I still want more length, so I'm gonna go ahead and get another floral pick, and again, at least 2 inches, and then wrap again the wire if it's there, if not get a piece, and then we're gonna go ahead and take our floral tape, press and pull, release that adhesive, wrap it and pull as you're wrapping it around, twist it around, pull, and just kind of press it as you go along, and then just pull on the tape to cut it. And there you go. Now I've got a longer stem right here, which is what I wanted, to make sure that I had enough of it to push into my styrofoam, where it wasn't just gonna be a little tippy tip and then it might just go blah, and it doesn't matter if I put glue, it's still gonna do that. It's very possible, so I don't want that to happen. So now I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue on the tip, and I'm gonna maneuver this right next to that hydrangea, push it down into the styrofoam. There we go, and I wanted it to be about that much higher than this flower. So now I'm just gonna maneuver it so it's kind of coming out of the center of this hydrangea. Now, in order for me to make sure that that stays there, I'm gonna take a little piece of tape, cut it off with my scissors, a little short piece of tape, and I'm gonna go in there. Let's push this down. I'm going to go in there. See where they're right here? Right there. I'm gonna take this floral tape and wrap it around those 2 stems to hold that tulip in that position. And obviously I didn't need it that long, so I can remove the tape now. Okay. So right here, I take them together. You can use a little piece of wire if you want to wire them first, but then cover it up with floral tape so you don't see the wire. And I've taped them so this tulip stays in that position. And I could do the same to these stems because I wanted them to be right up in it. So I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to take them up a little bit lower. Forgive me. And because I want them to stay in that position. All right, take that one. And I'm going to do the other stem on the other side, just because I want them to be giving height to my center. I'm going to go down and tape it a little bit lower. Kind of have to get your fingers in there, and I probably should have just done that before I added all these flowers. So if it's easier for you to do that, go right ahead. Establish your height first with all the little flowers you want, and then go in and fill. There we go, and I've maneuvered my hydrangea. You know what, I'm going to remove this leaf from the tulip. Well, no, actually, should I or not? It was kind of in a dodgy, oh, I'll go ahead and push it back down. Okay, here we go. It was kind of in a dodgy position. Okay, so I want you to see now how that tulip is closer to being in the center of that hydrangea. It is not perfectly centered, obviously, but it kind of gives you that, and it gives you a tulip sticking out at the very top. There we go. Let's pull it back. So now what I want to do is, because I do have more tulips, and I want to fill now between. So right here, between this flowers, but up here high, I want to fill, and then I'm going to do the same between this front and this side flower, but up here in the middle, but up higher, is what I meant to say. So if you have these 2 flowers, in the middle of those 2 flowers, but just a little bit higher, so that it's also be centered, like there's a triangle right here. This, up, and then down. There's a triangle right here. So just imagine that triangle right there, okay? So right in the middle of that triangle is where I want to add a tulip. And then as I turn it, I'll see another triangle, these 2, and then the top right here. There's another triangle, and then of course here, and then here. So I'm going to fill in a tulip in each of those. And then again, if it's not long enough, I'm going to add a floral pick to it. So if I put it all on here, and that's actually a pretty good, perfectly good height, but I've got this right on the ledge or right on the surface of the styrofoam, so I don't have anything to push in. And if I push in, I'm going to lose that height that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and fix up 4 of these with a floral pick so that I can then insert them, and I will be back. All right, so I got a little bit ahead of myself and I prepared 2 tulips, and then I've gone ahead, again, this isn't the front of my arrangement, what I'm calling the front. I've gone ahead and I've added these 2. So as you can see, my triangle right here, and this is right in the middle. And I did the same to the other side. So now I'm gonna do the same to the back here and this other side over here. So that's what I'm going to repeat. All right, let me finish taping this one. I was already gonna be done. And then I realized, oh, I got ahead of myself and I put those flowers in, and I didn't even tell you, but there you are, you can see that. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the same to what I'm calling my back. All right, so between these 2 and the top, insert it right here, so that here's my triangle right here, and the flowers are right in the middle of the triangle, the top flower in these 2, okay? There's my triangle. That's why this is a triangular floral arrangement. Okay, I need 1 more, yes. Now I need the one that's gonna go on this side right here. Okay, a little bit of glue, and I'm gonna turn it around so I can see it. Slide it right in there. All right, in there. This is the one that I'm inserting right here. And there you go. And then just bend them as you want. You feel like they're not, tulips are pretty because they're supposed to shoot straight up into the air. But, you know, they do have a little bit of weight to them, so these are kind of a natural flow here. Okay, so I still have 4 stems of tulip, and each of these stems has 2 flowers in there. So I got plenty of flowers to still fill this in. But I want you to see, here's my arrangement so far. Look how full it is already. And yes, there are some spaces, but then again, remember, I have greenery that I want to go ahead and add there. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put now these flowers aside, just like I did my other, oops, there's a leaf there. Just like I did with my little roses, I had some left over. I may use them, I may not. I'm gonna do the same thing with my tulips because that's a whole other arrangement. So as you can see, the cost effectiveness of a bush is really good. And as you saw, this vase had a really big mouth, so you think, oh, I'm gonna need a lot of flowers to fill that in. But as you can see, I've used half of my tulips, half of my roses, but I did use all my hydrangea. So now we want to go to the greenery part, and this is the fun part, I think. So anyway, back to the fern, and then I've cut all these stems off the bush. So I've got all these little different lengths, these little shorties, which are pretty. I don't want to use these at this point because they're kind of short and my arrangement's really big. Excuse me, I have a little itch. And then they have this next size here, a little bit longer. And I'm also going to put those aside because I feel like they're too short. Let me go all the little shorties out of the way. I'm going to save them. I might end up using them for another arrangement. So I'm just going to look for my my longer stems. Let me grab those. These are kind of a shorty, put that over to the side, so is that one. And I've got my longer pieces here now. So I'm just gonna eyeball here. Here's my, I need at least 6, and I've got 4, 5, 6 long ones here. Now, if you've ever gotten yourself a bouquet of roses from, you know, the floral shop, they like to use a lot of fern because it's a beautiful leaf. It's got a beautiful color, and it looks very filling because this is actually a branch. And then here you've got the leaf of the fern, okay? This is actually a branch of leaves. This is not one leaf, and I kind of always said, oh, this is one leaf. Now you do have a different fern where it's just one long piece, and then it's got these little edges like these do, like they're even more separate leaves. But there's one where it's even longer, and I love to use that one as well. And if I find a fern bush like that, I'm going to go ahead and grab that because those have always been my favorites, and I hope that I can show you those. But I found this one at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to go ahead and use it. Now I want something with height, and again I have a very short stem. I want something way up here, not covering my flower, but just underneath it, I should say. And I want 2 of them. kind of coming off at the sides. I kind of wanted to kind of like the pedestal for the hydrangea. I want these two flowers, these two leaves to sort of be just kind of flowing out where the hydrangea and the tulip are now at the very top up here. So I need to add length to this, and I believe I'm going to have to add 2 floral picks. And I know that I have long ones somewhere, but I've already started. I'm just too tired to go look. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and prepare 2 of these with 2 floral picks. One here, and then another one here to make it a longer stem that I can push in and find the correct height that I want. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. All right, I've gone ahead and I prepared these 2 fern stems like I said I would. I've added 2 floral picks to each one to give it length, and I want to cradle. I don't know what other word to better use to describe what I want to do, but I want to cradle this flower right in the middle by putting these ferns kind of like that, because I want them to flow out of my arrangement right here. I don't want them to cover any flowers, but I just want it to flow out, and so you can see that beautiful fern, but I don't want it to stick out as far as these, just right about right here in the height. Okay, and again, they can be curved a little bit, so you can manipulate them to do so if you want, which I'm doing here. I'm going to add some glue, and I'm going to move these out of the way so I can insert that into the styrofoam, push that in, and I want you to see right there how that's coming out from the side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side now. I want you to just keep in mind, like this one here is kind of forward, so the one that I put on this side, and you can see this little stems that are coming out of the sides, this one is behind the fern. So on this other side, I'm going to put this in front, so the fern will be coming out on the side, but it'll be behind this, so the opposite of whatever's happening over here. Okay, again, I'm going to bend my fern just a bit, glue on the other side, and this time make sure that it's coming out kind of next to, but behind that little rose stem there. This is what it looks like from on top, right there. This chair is kind of giving us a little bit of trouble there. You know, I think the thing in the back behind me, I should have removed that, and then we could have had a plain yellow wall. But I will put the camera close to it so you can see what's going on, and then you can see what I did and then see it, appreciate it a little bit better. So here's what I have so far right here, and you can see the fern leaf right here and another one on this side, and now I'm going to put some down here. So again, just like I did the tulip where I put it in the middle, I put that in the middle of the triangle. This time I'm going to go in the middle but below the triangle, so I want it to flow out right here, kind of underneath the tulip. The lights are doing a weird thing because I put the arrangement in front of it, so I'm sorry about that. So I wanted to kind of like, now this would kind of cradle these tulips that are right here and just fall like right below or between these two, and I'm going to do that all the way around, and I've got 4 to do that because I did 4 tulips. So I'm going to look at this and see the length, and the length is a little bit short, but to me it's worth it to go ahead and put a floral pick to get it right at the length that I want. I could insert it, I do have 2 inches that I could insert it in, but I feel like it's too low, and I still have all that other greenery that I can use, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and use some floral picks on this, and I'll be back as soon as I'm done with that. Okay, so I'm finishing up now these 4 fern branches like I said I would. So I've got them all prepped with my wooden sticks, so now I'm going to put them so that they flow out from underneath the tulips. So some glue, make a little space there with my fingers, and now I'm going to bend this because I don't want you to see the back side of the fern, so I'm just going to bend it a little bit, and this is why I needed to add some length. And I can lift it up just a little bit more. I don't need it to go so deep now. See that? And that also fills that space right there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do to the other tulips. Okay. Now the way that I'm inserting them is I'm inserting them so that you're seeing the back of it, but because I'm curling them, then you're gonna see the top of them, okay? Don't put these facing like that forward and then curl them, because then you're gonna see the back of them. And then curl them a little bit, curve them, or curl them, whatever you wanna call that. Okay, one more. And as you can see, this arrangement is taking a lot of body now, and it is really big. It could be a lot bigger, of course. This would be great to make some arrangements for a wedding. If you wanted to do that, you're on a budget and you can't hire a fresh floral, you know, someone to come and do fresh flowers, or you really can't afford to hire somebody to come and do these full arrangements for you. You could do these yourself for a wedding or quinceañera, sweet 16. Maybe even just a business meeting, and you want to have something nice, or maybe it's a specific party for your work or church or anything really, and you want to save some money. Make these arrangements yourselves. You know, maybe get some ladies together, and now you can show them how to do it, and then all they gotta do is just follow along what you just did, okay? But you can make one big arrangement or two big arrangements if you want to take them over to your church and have them put them on the either side of a pew, or I don't know, what do they call that, where they stand and they preach or give their sermon off from? Is it a pew? No, that's where you sit. Oh, okay, I don't remember anymore. I need Jesus. Okay, let's put some more greenery in this, and I have this. I have to get it out of the way. I don't want to cover me. Okay, I know you want to see me. No, not really. I don't care. Anyway, I've got this other greenery that I've cut from, and this is the stems that I have, and I've got this one long one. I don't know why it doesn't have two, but it had one long one, and then it had three or two of that next length. So that was my 3 long stems, I guess. And then it has 5 of these little shorties, which are nice because I can put these at the bottom. But I do want something, so I'm gonna save these 2 kind of medium-ish. And then I'm gonna grab this one here, this longer one. What I want is I wanna create a cascade. And a cascade would be something that flows out from your arrangement. It comes down so that it kind of like it's falling on the table. So I want to create that look. So I'm going to use this a longer piece for that. And of course I do have some height up here that I also want to fill, but I'm not going to fill the whole complete height, just in between what I've have here. So this is a little long for that. So I'm going to go ahead and use it for my front cascade. And I'm just going to remove some of these lower leaves stems, just so they're not in the way of when I insert it. So I'm going to pull those off. And I almost feel like I really don't need this extra bit. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off so that I only have this one long, like, viney bit. And again, like I said, I'm going to insert this right at the bottom. So I'm going to, then once I've inserted it into the styrofoam, then I'm going to bend it downward, and then I can curve it and curl it to kind of wrap around the container, if you will. So now I've got to put some glue here because I've already did a little bit of a bend there. And I had chosen this as my front, what you're seeing. So off to the right, I'm going to put the stem into the styrofoam, push it in as far as I can, and then bend it downward against the lip of the container, and then just bend my leaves to kind of curve. I'm bending it nice and tight right here so that it's right up against right here, not like floating out here, but like right up against. There you go, just like that. And then I want this to kind of flow down, and then once I put it on the table, this piece will be kind of like resting on the table. And now you don't have to do that. That's just a look that I kind of like, and it's pretty like floor, like for wedding type of arrangements, to have that kind of a cascade. I'm going to bend this down now a little bit because I had it bending upward and I didn't like it, but now I do. I like it like that. You don't have to do that. Now it could cascade and then just drape it along the edge here if you want. It doesn't have to go all the way down to the floor. This is also a really good look if you have like a really long, tall, thin vase, having a cascade coming down, and then you can add some flowers as well to that. But I'm just going to go ahead and do that to this. Push it in as far as I can. Take a look at it. I like it, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it. So now I'm going to fill in where I feel like there are some emptiness, and the emptiness is really down here at the bottom. I don't really have emptiness at the top here, so I'm going to go ahead and take all these other pieces and just insert them here and there. So I'm going to take my two longer pieces, which is one that I kind of have here, and then I've had this other one here, and I think I'm going to have to remove some of the little stems down at the very bottom, the little branches, because then I won't have anything to stick into the styrofoam. The other one I'm going to do the same because it's really kind of intruding. Okay, so these are my two longer pieces, so I'm going to have these come out the sides of my arrangement down here and one on this side. So that's basically what I'm going to do, okay? So just get some glue. Just like that. The same on the other side. I need glue. I really need to get myself a little, it's like a little plate where you can throw some little wax cubes, or not wax cubes, but glue. Or I guess there's like wax, the glue. What these little sticks are made of, the silicone is what they are. You throw these little cubes into that little melting pot, and it melts the glue, so it creates like a little puddle in the pot. And all you got to do is take your stem and, you know, like dip it into the pot, pick up some glue, and then stick it into your arrangement. And you don't have to be lifting up a glue gun. And I used to use it a lot when I worked at Michael's. And okay, I'm going to trim off a little bit off of this stem because I feel like it has too much green. It's just too bushy. And you're gonna look at it like that. Okay, so now you can see that the bottom is getting full because I've added some greenery. This front has some greenery. So now I'm gonna fill in this back part. Let me hold it up again. This back part down here. I'm gonna fill it in with some greenery here and there. And I've still got these other stems. So I'm just gonna put some glue in those. And the way that I'm sticking them into the styrofoam, here's my surface of my styrofoam. Let's grab one. Instead of like just pushing it straight down and then bending it, I'm just going in at an angle. So I'm inserting it like at an angle like that. Just a little bit, not as angled as I just showed you, but just sort of maybe like a 45 or so. Just to fill in those bottom bits. That looks good. I feel like I need another one under this little fern, just to fill in that little blank space there. Come on, glue, don't be nasty. And as you can see, when I lift this up, this arrangement already looks really, really full. Let me take a look. I've got one there. And because of that long one that I draped around, so I need one just a little bit under the fern that's right there, so it doesn't look so plain right there. Because I added that big long one that's cascading downward, but right next to it at the top, the fern where it's coming out of. So here's a cascade, but then right up here, I put one in there also to fill in this little space under this fern here so that you don't see the fern stick. So I've just filled those in on the back as well where the ferns are. Okay, so that's what I've done. And I've got this piece cascading. If you do not like this piece cascading, leave it out. And now I'm thinking if I should leave it out. I'm gonna take it off just so I can look at it without it, even though I glued it. Ta-da, and I pulled it out. Do I like it? I do. But I also see that I need something right here as well as on the back side. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my last shorty, and I'm gonna go ahead and sacrifice my super long one and use those there. So I'll be back. All right, so I'm back, and I've gone ahead, the piece that I had cascading down here, I liked it, but then I took a really good look at it, and I decided that maybe this container's a little bulky, maybe a little too short for that cascade. So I went ahead and I removed it. Now, it would be great if I had like maybe a cluster of grapes. I could go ahead and put that on here and then put it on my dining room table. That would be beautiful and elegant. But I've gone ahead and the reason also that I decided to use it is because I only had one other long, kind of longish piece, which I did add a floral pick to make it even longer, because I had right under the front here and the back of this big flower, because the tulips are on each side, and then the next thing is happening way down here. So I decided that I needed some greenery here just to fill it in. So I needed these pieces right here. This is the one that was cascading, and I actually trimmed off a little bit more off of it, and I put it in there, and that other piece that I put the floral pick, I put it on the back. So I've already filled that in, and I feel like my arrangement is really nice and full. But I did tell you that I did have those little grasses, which I just spotted right now, and I remembered that I wanted to possibly use them. If not, at least I was going to tell you how they can be curled. So I'm going to go ahead and take a piece, or a little stem that has, and I had some of this left over, by the way, and I'm going to save all of that because I may make another arrangement, because look, I have tulips. Oh wait, there's more over here. I have tulips and little roses left over, so I can make a little arrangement out of them. I have fern left over, and I've got this, and I've got more greenery over there, so I can make another arrangement. So I'm really excited because I got a good bang for my buck. Okay, I'm gonna trim this off. These are always hard to work with, these grasses, because there's no like real stem to them. So you end up cutting them, and that's what you have. So then you're like, okay, now these parts here, what do I do? There is a machine that will add a very sharp metal pointed metal piece that'll go onto here. I have that machine, I happen to have it, and I'm hoping that I can remember so that I can go ahead and bring that out in a future arrangement and show you what that is. If some of y'all can comment, hey, don't forget about that, show us that, so it'll remind me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put a floral pick on it, just wrap it up nice and tight, and I'll probably do a couple of these. I don't really want to add too many because I feel like my arrangement's already really full. I can tell you that I can't remember exactly what this arrangement ends up costing me, so I'm going to do a guesstimate. But when I bought all my bushes, all the floral bushes that I had, and if you watch the first video, I believe I show it all in part of it, or at least if you watch all my 3 videos, all the flowers and all the greenery that I've used so far has all been from Hobby Lobby, and I bought that all in one trip, and I think I spent just under $100. If not, it was just a little over $100 of floral and greenery. Now, that does not include the price of my vases. Now, I told you that I got my vases on clearance, and I can tell you right now that the most I may have paid for this vase was maybe 10 bucks. And I can tell you that the white bucket that I got was also under, it was like 8 bucks. And then the white with the blue, the beautiful little round vase, or kind of an octagonal shape vase that I used in my round shape arrangement, that was also from my clearance. But I can tell you that they weren't more than 10 bucks. They had, I'm pretty sure that I almost paid like 5 or 6 bucks for them at the most, because they were on clearance when Michael Stores was closing. And a lot of things I got at 70, 80, 90% even. So they were really cheap. So what you want to do is you got to take into consideration what you're spending on your containers on top of your flowers. Now, what I've spent, I just told you, I wish I had my receipt here, but I feel like I spent $117 because I also got the moss, the styrofoam. Oh, and I just noticed my dry, which is what I'm going to add in there also, so you can see that. And then I did buy the floral picks and things like that, which I needed now. I needed some more glue sticks. So I'm going to say I spent around about $100 for all my greenery and all my floral. And if I was to include vases at the prices that I see now, if you find one for 40 bucks, 20 bucks, or less, grab it. Or if you happen to have something at home, great. So if you got yourself 200 bucks, so I'm going to round it off. I didn't even spend 200 bucks, but let's say you got 200 bucks of work. I mean, you can get yourself 3 arrangements, and you can easily see that if you were to go right now to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or wherever, this arrangement alone is probably going to cost you at least $200 with their discount, okay? So just consider that if I was to have spent $200 on all my supplies, I got 3 arrangements. Actually, I'm getting more because I have leftovers here, and I may even have enough to make a little greenery basket, not just a little floral. So anyway, here's the little grasses, and I'm just going to show you because I forgot I had these and I wanted to add them on, and I'm talking a lot, but you know what? I had a story to tell you. Okay, so if you take one of these and you put your scissors underneath the little stem and just kind of curl it like you do curling ribbon. Look at that. You get a little curl. And I like to grab 2 or 3 at a time and curl them. Sometimes give them a really big curl, sometimes just a little curl or a really tight curl, so you can see that. And that's just something that you could add. And I like to do this to these grasses when I'm going to add them into an arrangement that I'm using at a party, because it gives it that little whimsical look to it. And you don't have to curl them all, but I like to curl at least the tips on most of these, just so that I have this. Okay, and it gives it a little bit of a whimsical look to your arrangement. So let me just put that in there, just for looks for now. I don't know if you can see it very well there, but I'm gonna go ahead and do another one for the other side, and then I'll show you in the outro. I'm gonna take some of these. I think they're so neat, and they're nice and long. So I'm gonna put one towards the back to kind of balance out that tulip, one in the front. I love these. They're so pretty and they're so fun. You don't have to include them, but I'm just showing you how you can add dry florals, because they're not really dry, it's styrofoam bit. I'm going to cut this one a little bit shorter and then put some to the sides, just at a lower point. Ooh, come on, baby, get in there. And I can't curl these, so these you're going to have to put, when you slide them on the sides, as I'm doing here, you're going to have to put them in at an angle, because they're on a wooden stick, and obviously that's not going to curl or you're going to break it. So insert it in an angle. So now I'm going to put this one on the other side. And this one kind of was behind this hydrangea. So for this side, I'm going in front of it. And there we go, just like that. Push it in a little bit more just so it matches the other one. And there we go. And now all I'm going to do is put some more of these little grasses coming out on the other side, and that is my arrangement. I have one of these left, but I could use it for another little tiny arrangement. So this is my arrangement. This is a triangular arrangement. If you look at it, this goes at an angle, the same on the other side, and then straight like that. There's my triangle. And then you saw the triangle within the arrangement right there. There's what it looks like from the top. And of course, I'm going to put the camera close up so that you can see it in all its glory. I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up. I hope you give me a big old thumbs up as well. Please leave a nice comment below. I already know that I talk a lot. I can't do anything about that. I have been trying to talk as loud as I can so that you can hear me. And I hope I did an okay job, at least for you for now, until somehow that can be resolved some way. All right, so leave a nice comment down below. Thank you all very much for the support that you've been giving me, the beautiful comments. And I love hearing what you're doing. And I do have an email that says thetriciatxlady@gmail.com. I'm going to be checking it right now because I had not checked it. I made the email and I thought nobody's emailing me anything. And then I realized some of you had, like from way back when I first made the email. So some of the emails were kind of old, but there were comments that they made, you know, the Christmas arrangements and so forth, and wishing me a Merry Christmas. So I'm going to be checking it once a week. So if you want to email me a picture of what you're doing, send them to thetriciatxlady@gmail.com so that I can see your pictures. And please, if you can, leave a little note and let me know if I can share your pictures and your name, whatever name you want me to say for my videos, because I'd like to show everyone like, oh, well, here's someone that did that arrangement and it came out just beautiful. So if you're able to do that, take a picture and email it to me, and then give me permission to show it to everyone. I would love to do that. If not, that's fine. Just show me the picture. I won't show it to anyone unless you specifically say in the email that I can. So again, thank y'all very much. And I want to thank everybody who's subscribing. Please share on your social medias. I would like to have a few more subscribers so that this can be a little bit more successful and that I can afford to purchase all these items to do more crafts for you. And this concludes my 3-course basic floral design. And I do hope that you did learn something, or at least enjoyed watching the videos. I am going to continue with wall decor. I don't know how many videos for that I'm going to make. I need to break it down and see what I can do for you. I am going tomorrow to the stores, do some shopping and see what I can find, and then I'll decide and I'll surprise you next Tuesday whether it is that course. But I do have a couple of things I want to make for Easter, so I may throw those in between. And then I also want to teach you how to make corsages and bouquets. So let me know what you think of that idea. And please, again, thank you so very much. And as always, enjoy.